and violence, and to address the concern that some government policies may discriminate against Muslims. For example, the so-called Muslim ban, which President Biden revoked on our first day in office.
All right, folks, they call it the Muslim ban, but it didn't ban all Muslims, of course, from coming to America or getting visas. It was countries that were not able to vet people when they were putting them on planes to America, or basically failed states that had no ability to know who was going on a plane. The original travel ban list only lasted for 90 days. It was Iran, surprising. I mean, I think that's still in place. I don't think you just fly over here from Iran unless you're an official going to a UN meeting. Iraq, where we're engaged still in a war. Libya, which was a totally failed state controlled by ISIS. Somalia, I remember what happened, of course, in Ghazi. Somalia, a terrorist-run state. Sudan, up until now, the overthrow of Bashir, and now still in a state of kind of who controls what. The military has taken over. But at that time, it was Omar Bashir, an international war criminal wanted by the International Criminal Court. Syria, who was using chemical weapons against its own people. And Yemen, who was shooting rockets into our ally, Saudi Arabia. There's a lot more Muslims around the world, in Asia and the Middle East, that weren't on that ban list, including some of the largest Muslim countries in the world, like Indonesia and Pakistan and India. Those Muslims weren't barred. This wasn't a Muslim ban. It was a terror ban.
Well, let me tell you what the worst part of this is. Rising anti-Semitism to heights we haven't seen since Germany 1930 are happening in the United States of America. And on that very day when they arrest the Cornell student who was threatening the Jewish students, on that very day, the White House decides to come out with a task force on Islamophobia. Now, think about this. Jews are being, and Israelis are being slaughtered in their own country. Anti-Semitism, Christopher Wray said, the highest it's ever been, and Islamophobia is what's on the mind of the Biden White House. This is the reason why we need you to stand with the American Center for Law and Justice. We are in our faith and freedom drive, and we're in a moment in history that none of us would have ever thought we'd see, but here we are. We're witnessing horrible atrocities internationally and even on our own country, especially on college campuses. We're sending demand letters to the East European Union, congressional leaders, the UN Security Council. We are representing students that are being harassed because they're Jewish or Christian students who are pro-Zionist. All of this happens because of your support for the ACLJ. Support our work and our faith and freedom drive. Any amount you donate, we get a match. And if you can make that a recurring gift, you become an ACLJ champion.
My name is Brian Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax.
We started our company 10 years ago in an effort to help our fellow Christians experiencing tax issues resolve their matters by taking a simple three-step approach.
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys that specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We're the leaders in acceptance of offers of compromise with awesome results. We're also a small firm who will treat you like family, not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
Proverbs 15:22. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
No more mold, no more damage, no more outdated old bathrooms, no more slipping and hurting, no more stress. Make your ordinary bathroom extraordinary for only $99 per month. New shower, new door, new tub, new wall, new anti-slip technology. Be stress-free. Call 800-981-8177. PCI Bath and Shower is made in America for the highest quality. Ask about our military and senior discounts. Your dream bathroom in as little as 1 day. First 50 callers save $1,500 on a never clear glass treated door. Call now for free premium color upgrade. 800-981-8177. Call BCI Bath and Shower, the leader in bathroom remodeling. Be smart, safe, and stay a step ahead of inflation with our interest-free financing options. Call 800-981-8177. Love your bathroom with free upgrades. Call 800-981-8177. That's 800-981-8177.
Streaming at 860amtheanswer.com, our mobile app, iHeart, TuneIn, and the Odyssey app. You can't find us wherever you go. You're just not trying. Secular at 6 on 860 AM. The Answer.
We are always honored to be joined by our very good friend of the ACLJ and of the Seculos, Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, who had an opportunity to question Secretary Blinken and Samantha Power about this money that is an aid that is still planned on going to Hamas, even after the atrocities of October 7th in Israel and the ongoing atrocities and the kidnapped hostages that have not been released, including Americans. And by the way, that number keeps going up. It seems we find out there are more hostages. So many people seeing the horrendous images of what happened and how these Hamas terrorists really took over like ISIS, or even worse, committing crimes against children, women, men, and the elderly. And Senator Hagerty took it right to Secretary Blinken. And Senator Hagerty, let me ask you this, and thank you for joining us such a busy time in the U.S. and the world. Senator Hagerty, when you went to Blinken, what did he say? It's not like American accountants are on the ground tracking what Hamas is going to do with this aid, or who's going to get it, and whether actual people in need will ever get it.
Well, they want to come to us and ask for billions of dollars in, quote, U.S. foreign assistance to go into the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is controlled by Hamas. I confronted Secretary Blinken with emails that we discovered, internal emails from the State Department. We received these via Freedom of Information Act requests. I entered those into the record, and I recited to him exactly what they said. There is a high risk that those funds will be able to go to the benefit of Hamas. Hamas is the terrorist organization that just launched a murderous attack on the Israelis and killed over 1,400 people. And included in that number were, some 36 Americans that they murdered. So when I asked Secretary Blinken if he could assure me that the aid dollars that the United States has already sent into Gaza weren't involved in supporting Hamas's attack on October the 7th, he couldn't assure me of that. He doesn't know, clearly. I asked him point blank 3 times. And 3 times, it kept coming back to the question as he kept trying to evade it. He could not answer me that American dollars aren't basically funding both sides of this war. That's the last place we want to see American taxpayer dollars spent. I don't want to see a dime of American taxpayer dollars going to Hamas so that they can use that again in turn to kill more Israeli citizens and include Americans in that as well.
Senator, one of the things I'm concerned about is that the administration appears to be totally tone deaf. They announced yesterday that they're starting a task force on Islamophobia. That was the same day that Christopher Wray testified before Congress, saying that the 60% of the hate crimes that are religiously motivated are against Jews. 60%, and they only represent 2.6% of the population. And the response from the White House on that is, let's have a task force on Islamophobia. It appears they're totally tone deaf.
Yeah, I think, it's been called out in the media. I did an interview yesterday with Larry Kudlow. He accurately coined it. He basically said what they're doing, they meaning the Biden White House, are pandering to the far-left extreme radicals in their own party. These are the ones that are doing the pro-Palestinian, rallies in the cities and on our college campuses. These are the people that are, basically aligning themselves, with Nazism. And they are so desperate to maintain this quote, broad coalition of fringe groups and activist groups that have, certainly radical views based on, where most of America is. But they're willing to do anything to pander to them, to keep them in the boat, so to speak, so that in, critical congressional districts like in Michigan, they're able to continue to use these people. And they're going to the White House, these groups are going to the White House, pressure groups are going to the White House saying, look, we helped you, Joe Biden. We went door-to-door campaigning for you, Joe Biden, back in 2020 to help you win that election. And you lose us if you don't start catering to us. And that's where you see, Kamala Harris come out with this pandering.
Red light camera reported ahead.
Things they will not even say. Who's at the root of all of this? That's Iran. It's very difficult to get the White House to even acknowledge Iran's role in all of this. If you saw what happened, with Hamas, that was Iranian funding, that's Iranian technology, that's Iranian know-how that was deployed to murder over 1,400 Jews.
So we're planning on it. We were together, Senator Hagerty, when this attack occurred. And it was shocking, the brutality we kept seeing on our phones, the reactions that were being made, and just again, we've never seen Hamas take it to the level of ISIS or maybe even surpassing ISIS. And then, we see Christopher Wray testify very openly and honestly about the issues Jews are facing right here in the United States. That this group of just 2.4 million people face 60% of the religious hate crimes. And the next day, the vice president...
You're not supposed to make a left. Signs are right there. 7 to 7, 7 days a week. But no one seems to care around here.
Extremists on Americans who have bad views on people, but most Americans are good people and respect you if you respect them. Why, again, is it purely politics that they announced this because they don't want to lose the votes from the squad?
Jordan, I think you hit the nail on the head. The citizens that are fearful of their lives here in America, even one of my own colleagues, it suffered a severe threat, Jackie Rosen. And we have got to bring this under control instead of pandering. We need to be standing strong with Israel and with our Jewish neighbors right here in America. It's totally unacceptable when you have these threatening protests taking place in our cities and on our college campuses that are making, young Jewish people, old, elderly Jewish people, anybody of that faith, deeply concerned. And when Christopher Wray comes out, as you absolutely mentioned, and highlights the fact that the vast majority of these hate crimes in America taking place on American soil. I don't condone any hate crime. You know that. We're against that
right.
at every level. But the disproportionate impact of that on our Jewish citizens and the fact that it's gone up over 400% since October the 7th is alarming. And we need to doing something about that.
Senator, there is a movement in the House, or what passed in the House of Representatives, a bill that's going to be a standalone, at least that's the plan, standalone for aid to Israel. The Senate side, your side of that, Congress, some have said we'd rather have that combined with Ukraine. What's your view on that? My view is get the aid to Israel as quick as you can, and I'm not opposed to aid to Ukraine either. But I mean, it's just I understand why you'd want it to stand alone. But what's your sense of that?
No, I think the House has read it right. There's broad support in America, forgetting the radical stuff coming out of the White House. Broad support in America to get this aid to Israel right now. We're watching this unfold on television. We want to see it come to an end. We want to see it come to an end quickly and get the Israelis the support they need to do the job that they know how to do.
Senator, we are working closely with hostage families. And in fact, next week we're going to be in Washington with those families, and we're working with your staff. Where you'll be able to meet with some of them. These are representatives of the families that are hostages, mothers, fathers, brothers. I mean,
I'm not going to this Target. They were very rude to me last time I was there.
The situation with the hostages has complicated a lot of what's going on in the Middle East right now because there is a lot of pressure on Israel not to go into a full-tilt war here and rather, give this kind of ceasefire to get this worked out and see if we can get the hostages out. That never tends to work. What's your sense of that on that front?
I'm completely sympathetic to the concern. I think this is also by design. This is why Hamas took the hostages. I think Iran has, demonstrated their control over Hamas and Hezbollah. Iran was the one that, Iran trained Hamas. They've armed them. They've funded them. So I think this is part of the Iranian playbook. And the Biden administration has demonstrated they're willing to put a massive price on the heads of hostages. The $6 billion package that came through with a $1.2 billion price tag on the heads of every American. So we can incentivize.
Israel was going to get what it needed. These programs, like the Iron Dome, are joint programs that assist both Israel and U.S. troops on the battlefield. And we are just grateful to have you battling for the United States and for Israel, our ally, in the United States Senate, not just for Tennesseans, which we are, but for all Americans. Thank you for joining us, Senator Hagerty. It's such a busy time in our country.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Dad, I will tell you, I was with him that day. And first, of course, was just the shocking images we all saw. We couldn't believe what we were seeing, even though we've seen Islamic terror before, but at that level inside Israel. But the second thing I saw Senator Hagerty do, and not to give anything away secret, but get right on the phone and start working these situations. These are the kind of senators we work with on a daily basis, and this is why it's so important to support the work of the ACLJ. We're right there with them.
Okay, so we have launched our new Faith and Freedom Drive, and it just started yesterday. We had a great response, by the way. By the way, also, over 2,000 of you became ACLJ champions, actually 2,100 in the month of October. That was phenomenal. Here's what we want you to do. We know we're at an unbelievable moment in history. We know what's going on in Israel. Our team's fully engaged in Europe, here in the United States, in Washington, where we're going to be next week. We've sent already demands to the EU, congressional leaders, and UN Security Council. We're meeting with the families next week in our offices. We'll be representing some of those before the United Nations. We continue to fight for your constitutional rights. Our lawyers are in court on the 14th Amendment Section 3 case involving President Trump being on the ballot. They're in court right now. Go to aclj.org/faith and freedom, and your gift will be doubled. Do it today.
After nearly 50 years, Roe v. Wade, the tragic ruling that manufactured a so-called right to abortion, has been overturned by the United States Supreme Court. This is the moment the ACLJ has been fighting for. It's the biggest victory we've achieved in our 3-decade-long fight against the soulless abortion industry. Extreme abortion advocates are not just going to give up, and neither are we. I thank you for making this victory possible, and I ask you for your continued prayer and support as we continue to battle against barbaric new abortion laws across our nation.
We now have a state-by-state fight. Your support of the ACLJ makes a huge difference. Any amount you donate to the ACLJ this month, we get a matching gift, which means, as we've said before, if you donate $20, we get 40. You donate 100, we get 200. We encourage you to do it.
Exogen thermometers are a top choice of medical professionals at highly rated hospitals across the U.S. Accuracy matters, so make Exogen the chosen thermometer for your home and family. Available at Walgreens and other participating retailers. Learn more at Exogen.com.
It's getting harder and harder to make sense out of today's headlines. To stay on top of breaking world and national news with a Christian worldview and a faith-based perspective on what it means, turn to ChristianHeadlines.com. Log on to ChristianHeadlines.com for the very latest news, and then sign up for our free daily newsletter to stay one step ahead of what's happening. Get out of the mainstream media with top news and positive headlines every day with ChristianHeadlines.com.
News, opinion, insight at 860am.theanswer.com. Our mobile app on TuneIn, iHeart, and the Odyssey app. We go where you go. 860 AM, The Answer. This is 860 AM, The Answer. Secular at 6 on 860 AM, The Answer. Thank you.
If you missed that, we'll have it clipped and posted for you on places like Rumble and wherever you watch our videos, Facebook as well, and Twitter, and X later today. But I do want you to know, I just want to underscore that even when we're not talking about it on the air, we are with those kind of individuals, and sometimes you're just with them having a meeting, and something like Israel happens, and you're right in the midst with a U.S. senator, or 2 or 3 of them that we actually were, and you're part of it, and you then get to continue be part of it, and that takes us into the work that we're doing next week in Washington. We're able to do all of this and coordinate it because we've had so much great donor support over the past couple of months.
I'll tell you this, we are doing something that's unprecedented in ACLJ history.
So
We've never been able to
dumb.
do this situation like this. This is unique. This is a unique situation. We're going to have representatives from families of hostages in our offices, and our government affairs team is arranged. There'll be Israeli lawyers there as well. Have arranged meetings with the House Republicans and House Democrats, Senate Republicans, Senate Democrats. We're going to have them on our broadcast on next Wednesday, live from Washington, D.C. So we're going to be able to bring you this kind of information, but we're also tells you what we're doing. We are in the process of putting together a complaint to the United Nations. Now you say, well, who cares about the United Nations? Well, we know how corrupt it is, but you've got to be there. It's the Ministry of Presence. And it's going to put the UN in a bit of a vice. And CC Heil is working with our international team on that. We've gone to the European Parliament and got a successful resolution there. But right now, as we continue to fight for constitutional rights all over this country, we've got lawyers in Denver, Colorado. As we're sitting here, they're arguing at a jury trial, judge bench trial in Colorado to make sure Donald Trump. And it doesn't matter what you think of Donald Trump, but if he's the nominee, that he appears on the ballot.